You don't want to ever see that in your kid's face, that they're worrying about you.
Hey everybody, I'm Suzanne, and welcome to the Find and Follow podcast, where our goal is to help you engage your faith outside of Sunday mornings. We are currently in a series here on the podcast about this task called parenting. It is this amazing, wonderful journey that some of us are on, and it is the hardest thing we have ever done. And today we're going to take a conversation into a topic that affects a lot of parents, and that is being a single parent. And joining me today is Bev Fisher. Welcome, Bev.
Thank you.
So glad to have you.
It's nice to be here, and I am humbled that you would ask me to have this conversation with you.
Well, Bev, I have admired you for years and known you from a distance for a long time. Tell us a little bit about yourself and about your family.
One of the things that I think is kind of important to know is that I was raised Catholic, and so in that, I was not really in the Word very much, but going to church was everything. And so it wasn't until my children were probably 8 and 13 that someone asked me, and it was the school psychologist who was helping me with the kids, asked me if I knew where I was going when I died. And I was like, well, I'm hoping that, I'm going to go to heaven and stuff. And so then we started having that conversation. And so things changed a lot in my life. And I started going to a church where she went, and things just changed a lot. But I have been a nurse too. I graduated from nursing school. I was a nurse for about 25 years, and then I went to teaching, and both of those jobs were things that I have always wanted to do. And when I had the opportunity to go to teach, it was an only God moment, because I had gone to the high school to talk to the principal about my daughter's teachers, and when we got finished with the conversation, getting that all straight, he offered me a job.
Nice.
And so it was great because I had triplets who were in middle school, and this older one that I was going to talk to about, and that's in high school. And I'm thinking, well, this would work out really great that we would be all on the same schedule and doing the same thing, because my job at the Red Cross at that time was a travel job where I had some flexibility, but I could be gone at 5 o'clock in the morning. I might not get home till 8 o'clock at night. And so it was making it a lot easier for me in the long run to be able to be more available to the kids.
That's awesome. Okay, so tell us about the kids.
Okay. So my oldest one is 5 years older than the triplets.
Okay.
And they are now all but one of them all of them are married except one, and I have one getting married in November.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much. The triplets have been doing me in sort of ever since they were born, and now this year one of them had a baby, and then the other one got married 2 weeks later, and now the third one is getting married in November. So they tend to do things in three. Yeah.
Okay, so you have a daughter that is 5 years older, and then the triplets
Christine,
are two
girls and a boy.
Okay.
So I have 3 girls and a boy.
Okay. That is amazing, first of all. Like, one at a time is a lot of work. That's my experience. But 3, and that's amazing. Like...
Well, it's kind of one of those things, and I'd laugh about this. It's kind of one of those things that you don't think about too much, but back in the day, we had car seat carriers, and you didn't have like the big car seats. And so we would bring all 3 of them in, and I had them all lined up on the table one day, and they were infants in the car seat carriers, and I looked at them and I said, let me just tell you something. There are 3 of y'all, and there are 2 of us. If all 3 of y'all want something at the same time, somebody's got to wait. So
very true.
And so you just kind of laugh about it, and you move on, because it's just one of those things you just don't think about, and you just keep moving.
You have done that so well.
Thank you.
Okay, so your family's journey, would you share a little bit about that, and what were some key moments for you guys?
The journey began, the single parenting began when the kids were 8. The triplets were 8, and my oldest one, Christine, was 13. And it was a tough road. And I mean, it's hard. And there's anger, there's fear, there's lots of thought processes and stuff. And during that period of time, I really had a bout of depression and anxiety. It was, thank goodness, it was an acute phase, and it lasted for about a year and a half, and I was on medication. But going into it, I always said, I'm not going to be on this forever. And I was always trying to work towards getting off of it. But that's not the same for everybody.
Right.
And so you just have to be able to feel comfortable, being able to take the medicine so that you know that you'll be a better person. Because anybody that knows me knows that I am very active and on the move all the time. But when I couldn't get up out of the bed and didn't want to, and I had to get up just to get the kids off to school, and then I'd go right back to bed, there was something up.
Right. And I do think there's something to, as a parent, you have to take care of yourself to be able to take care of your kids.
No question about it. And I think that's kind of one of the number one things is you have to love yourself enough and take care of yourself because if you don't, you can't take care of anybody else.
That in the midst of that season for you guys, what were that was one of the initial challenges that you faced, was just your anxiety and depression. Anything else stand out for you that was hard at that season, at that point?
I think just, trying to get a schedule and get somebody to stay with the kids, and just feeling a little bit overwhelmed. And I have to say that the school psychologist, who was the one who first asked me if I knew where I was going when I died, and she started working towards my journey of salvation, and she and her husband both were a part of that. And they were very, very close to us and, stayed with us, helped us through things. And because I was still going to the Catholic Church at that time, she had contacted Catholic Social Services, and they ended up sending the kids to camp over the summer. Initially, they sent them for like 3 weeks, and then the next year, and for 5 years, they sent them for 5 weeks that I did not have to pay for it, and just so that I would get a respite. And I think that is the one thing was hard, was just not having time to not mother. And not that I didn't want to, but it does become overwhelming.
Well, I think there's something really important in that, because you had to find the rhythm, and they helped you find a rhythm that worked, that gave you a break. So because you were on 24/7,
right,
you needed the downtime just to kind of recuperate a little bit. I'm fascinated by this school counselor who just shared Jesus with you.
She did.
That's
Absolutely.
amazing. That's not what you expect necessarily, but what an amazing gift.
It was a gift. And, she really just walked with me through that season and stuff, and was very helpful with helping organization. She also got one of the parents, who was also a teacher's assistant at the elementary school, to come be with the kids some evenings and do dinner and help them with their homework, to give me a little bit of a break. And then when I would go away, then she would come and spend the weekend and stuff. But we also had 2 amazing, and every family needs to have a Heather and a Jenny, because they were they were best friends, and I was best friends with Heather's mom, Sandra, and they came and took care of the kids, and they came and helped me, and they came and spent the weekends with them, and sometimes for me to be able to go away, and they were just amazing. And I've been telling Lauren, she is getting ready to go back to work from having her 3rd baby, that we need to pray for a Heather and a Jenny.
The mother's helper, the babysitters that feel like family.
Oh, for sure.
That just really jump in and love on you, love on your kids. It definitely takes more than just you.
Right.
And more than.
Well, and then past that, when I started going to Forest Hill, it was lots of full circle moments here too, is that, it was when Chris Payne was first starting in the care ministry, and he was very instrumental in helping us get counseling for all of us and walking that road with us. And so he's kind of been a part of our life for a really long time.
I love that.
And since he first started, really.
So that's something I would love to talk about just a second, about you and the kids went through counseling to kind of help process and heal what was going on, and just to talk about your emotions. Is that something that was the impact of that, do you think, for you and the kids?
I think I still see some of the results of it, even as they process things and as they handle situations even now. And I think that, you have to put your pride aside, and I'm a very independent person. That's how I grew up, and tough and tender kind of thing. And so I just really, it was kind of hard pill to swallow that I needed to do that. But I knew I needed to do it for the kids. And when you have them look in your face sometimes and they're looking at you like, Mom, are you okay? And you get the sense of that. You don't want to ever see that in your kid's face, that they're worrying about you. And so, that at that time, they were worrying about me, and I just felt like it was something that we all needed to do. There was some turmoil in the house and stuff, and trying to get everybody situated, me trying to feel like I needed to be mom and dad, which I didn't, and I just needed to be me. And but at that point, I never been a single parent. I didn't know that. And I had everything that I ever wanted was to have children, and I always wanted to have 4. And, God was gracious to give them to me in 2 pregnancies, which was amazing.
That is pretty amazing. I mean, lots of people go through lots of pregnancies just to get 1 or 2 kids.
Correct.
So, yeah. So the blessing of having the multiples really answered that prayer in so many ways.
Well, and the other thing too is I prayed a lot as a single mom, and this doesn't, I'm not, trying to say that dads wouldn't want to do this as well, but I prayed a lot for godly men to come into their lives, because I didn't know how to be a dad, and that wasn't my role. And, I'm just trying to do the best that I could. And, there was Chris Payne, there was Robbie Fisher, there was Todd Lesher. And that's why I was saying there's full circle moments, because, and Robbie married Christine and Joe. And so they have meant so much. And, and they knew them so well, and they were so good. And that doesn't negate our responsibility as parents to raise them in a godly manner as well. But there were some times that, you're so busy that it's everything that you can do to try to read scripture. And sometimes the words on the page were I was in confusion. And so music was also my outlet. And that was how I got the word a lot of times, and through devotionals. And so you just do different things. Journaling was big for me, to be able to get a lot out. And because I'd stuffed so much for so long that you just have to get it out some way.
So the healing part, your personal healing in the process of parenting, I think there's so much to that, because I think all of us have something from our past that we're healing from. And so you had to take and make time for that in the midst of caring for the kids and working. So but you found that there were ways to do that.
And I tried to be able to make sure that the kids had something for themselves too. That, Joe ended up in a high school that was for tech, and that's what he wanted. So he didn't go to the same high school that the girls went to, and they went to the neighborhood one, and that was where I was able to teach. So I was there with them as well. And the other thing too, I think, in that process of changing from nursing to teaching in high school, was that we learned to communicate, and to talk to each other. And I didn't make decisions with that were going to affect all of us unless we sat down at the table and we talked about it. And Christine really didn't like the fact that I was going to be at her school very much, and she wanted to have a little, something to say about that. And I said, well, the only thing I can say about that is, when you forget your stuff, your money's at home, or you forget to get your paperwork signed that need to be done, I'll be right down the hallway, and you won't need a locker because you can just leave your stuff in my classroom. And so it became a little more appealing to her. And so we all finally got on the same page about that.
Not always. Everybody isn't always on the same page right away.
No, not at all.
You have talked a little bit. You talked about the sitters, Heather and Jenny, and how much you love them. You've mentioned a couple other people. The role of community for you with your family, how important has that been?
That has been really huge. And because being at Forest Hill and being connected in the church too, because I made it a point to do things with women's ministry and work on women's retreats, and and then having people praying for you and your situation and your circumstances, but then having all the kids in youth group too, and them having friends that are growing up in the church, and being able to go on mission trips through the year, and you just community is everything. And I can't say that strongly enough. And having people that you can talk to and have coffee with, or go work out with, or, just having somebody sometimes just to say, I just need you to pray for me. I don't know what it is right now, but could you just please pray for me?
We all need community. We all need one another. The Bible talks about that a whole lot. And so in that, it was a support system that was a special support system because it was spiritual, but yet it was also just being there.
Right. Well, and so many people just helped in so many ways. There was a relatively large check that showed up in my mailbox one day, anonymous. I still don't know where that came from.
Wow.
Somebody helped. I had a covered porch, but it wasn't screened in, and there was a friend that took care of that and screened in the porch so I could sit outside and not be eaten up by the bugs, and I could do my Bible study and stuff sitting outside drinking my tea. And so there's people just do things, and you just have to let them. We have this tendency, I do anyway, I can't speak for everybody else, but have this tendency of thinking that we need to repay that, or we need to do something for them. And you know what? God is using them, and you're stealing the blessing from them if you don't allow them to do that for you. And they're not doing it because they want anything in return. They just want to help.
You talked about earlier that you're independent. And I get that. I'm independent. But I think what you just said is you have to learn how to receive.
Absolutely.
So what was that for you? What was learning how to receive the care and the kindness of others?
I mean, I don't know. I don't know. It was so special, and it just meant so much, and it just warms your heart and blesses you so much to do that. And the thing of it is I don't think that God lets you go through anything that he doesn't give you opportunities to do that for other people. And I've said that, for a number of situations, and this is one of them too, that, he uses all things for good, for sure, and that he gives you the opportunity in his time and not in your time. And so we have to come out of our own skin and our flesh sometimes and say, it's not about me. So you just have to wait. And I am not a patient waiter, and God has had me in the waiting room so many times, and I am such a work in progress still at this moment.
I don't know any of us that aren't a work in progress, but I hear that. Like it's interesting the way his timing works, and we have literally no control over it. I think that's one of the things in parenting we have to learn. We are in the process of learning all through this journey is that we have no control. And if we thought we did, just when we think we may have a little bit, our kids grow, they change, life circumstances change, and then we realize how little control we have,
Absolutely.
which is none. So,
Right. That.
what are some myths about single parenting that you think need to be debunked?
I mean, we have the same fears in that in situations that everybody else does, that, super, and we're not super people, but we can give the same love and attention. And, it's something that you make time for, because in this life, I wanted 4 children. And so I wanted to give them all that love and attention. And the other thing of it is too, is growing up, saying I love you in my household growing up was not something that was ever said. And, and it was unfortunate. And I probably overdo that now to a point, but I just really want my children to know how much I love them, and I want it to be said, and I don't want it to be wondered. So I almost, at least in one text stream during a day, if I'm having it, or one conversation, I'm going to tell my children or my grandchildren that I love them. And you find ways that you can give them attention. The one thing that I have to say too here is that it became important to me to give individual time. There are 4 kids. And most of the time you think about, okay, if I can do this with all 4 of them, then I got this covered. Mm-hmm. But they really want that one-on-one time. And one of my daughters would always say to me when we got in the car together going somewhere, she would say, I really love it, Mom, when I get to spend time with you by myself. And and that was such a wake up for me, because I hadn't thought about it that way. So then I always tried to make more time for each one of them individually.
I think that's a good word for all of us, because I do think sometimes we all kind of lump them all together and not give individual attention sometimes out of the busyness of life. But I love that was a priority for you. Mm-hmm. Okay, so what has been the most rewarding aspect? I can't talk. What's been the most rewarding aspect of your family's journey?
I think just seeing how much they love their family, and how successful that they all are, as far as, they have a really good work ethic, and they are very helpful. They are very loving and caring. And so, I mean, I know that through what they've all been through, that they are sharing God's love with other people through how they treat them and how they glorify Him in their daily walks.
That's beautiful. And I know that to me, like having your kids follow Jesus and to serve Him and live that out is amazing. What about, how would you encourage parents who are new to this journey as a single parent?
Take a deep breath, first of all. Mm-hmm. Just breathe and be still. And don't let the lies and the noise in your head take over, because that's what Satan wants. And so and then figure out how you can take care of yourself. What do you need? What do you need? And if it's material things, then, first of all, you lean on your church, you pray first, for God to lead you to, where He's going to provide for you, because He's going to provide. And I have to say that, I was telling you this earlier, that if I had a nickel for every time I said only God, I would be a rich woman, because some of the things that were just overwhelming to me, it's like, well, that was God. It had to be. I mean, because I had no idea that it was going to turn out the way that it turned out. But, I mean, be patient with yourself. We're not perfect. It was hard when you were not a single parent, and now it's just hard in a little bit different way. And just get yourself organized and, do whatever it takes. So whether it's journaling, go and have tea with a friend, coffee with a friend, do some things for yourself so that you can pour into your children. because that is where it's really at. And, you know, you were doing that before. So it's not that you can't do it. You just have other people that you are going to maybe run something by or ask something in a different way. And, you know, the other thing that I have to say, because I've seen this happen in a couple of instances, is don't put your kids in the middle of whatever the reason that you're a single parent. Mm-hmm. You know, they have nothing to do with this. Don't let them get used. It's not an intentional thing, but, you know, just be mindful of the fact that you just have to take care of you and keep the kids out of it.
That's a good word. Anything that you would say to, anything else you would say about your journey, about encouraging of people?
Well, I just think that you just really have to trust God in the process, and His faithfulness endures forever, and he understands what you're going through, and He loves you more than anybody else. And so don't go looking for love in all the wrong places. Don't look for it from people. Don't look for it from words. Don't have expectations. Expectations bring disappointment. Just keep your eyes forward. And I have this, it's called the no rear view mirror aspect of my life. It's like no looking back. You just have to keep going forward and staying positive and looking, even when you don't feel like it. Try to find one thing positive in every day and really encourage your children. And I think that the one thing that I would say that I probably needed to do a better job at is trying to find something positive to say to my children, something encouraging to say to them. Let them know how proud you are of them, and find something that they've done, and tell them what a great job that they did. Don't always look for, because you don't feel good or you're tired or you're worn out, that you are always recognizing the things that they don't do well. Recognize the things that they do well. A lot.
That's a good word for all of us, to recognize the good that our kids are doing instead of the things that they're not. Mm-hmm. Thank you for that. Thanks for being here with me today. Thanks for sharing a part of your journey with us. Would you pray for us before we end?
Sure, I'll be happy to. Father, thank you for this opportunity to share my journey. And Lord, my journey is just one journey. And Lord, I just ask that you would give each of the single parents strength, and let them feel your love and your presence every day. And Lord, help them to keep their eyes focused on you and straight ahead and no rearview mirror. Lord, you are faithful, and your promises are that you will be with us always. And we thank you for that, and we love you so much. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Bev, thanks for being with me today. Thanks for listening. Until next time.